In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to measure valves and valve guides. To start out with, we'll measure the valve. And to do that, we come and look at the valve, and you'll be able to see that there's a portion of the valve that's shiny. You get that to focus. From there to there, so in this area right here, it's shiny where it's been wearing in the guide. We'll first measure it above the shiny part. So we'll measure the part of the valve that's never had any wear. Do that with the micrometer. And once we take that measurement, we then compare it to two other places in the shiny area where it has been wearing, just to make sure that the valve stem isn't tapered at all. Looks like this valve stem is pretty consistent up and down. So now we've done that. Once we take that measurement, we want to take the measurement of the valve guide, and we do that with a split ball gauge. And you do that from the cylinder head, or from the combustion chamber side of the cylinder head, not from the top. You always want to go down to this side where the most of the wear happens. The split ball gauge basically slips down into that guide, and as you turn it and tighten it, it spreads that out and make sure that it can glide in and out with just a little bit of friction. You take it out, and then you use a micrometer to measure what the diameter of the guide is. And then you subtract the difference between this measurement here, the diameter of the guide, and the diameter of the valve stem, and that gives you the valve guide clearance. Now there's another way to measure valve guide clearance, to make sure that that clearance is within specification, and that's to place the valve back in the cylinder head and use a dial indicator. We've got this dial indicator set up so it comes in at a 90-degree angle to the cylinder head and to the valve. You push the valve open to the position where it's normally open. You have to look at the valve and see where that is, but that's usually a little bit less than a half an inch open. So you've got the valve open. Get the dial indicator against the margin of the valve. We do our best to zero the dial indicator, and then we take that valve and wiggle it back and forth in the same direction. And it's a little bit tricky, but if you can get it to be consistent, just wiggle that back and forth. And you see how much play, and it looks like when we're being consistent, it's about 5/1000ths of an inch. That 5/1000ths of an inch translates into 2.5 thousandths of an inch of valve guide wear. So half of whatever you read on the dial indicator is the valve guide clearance. So if we measured 5/1000ths of an inch here, the valve guide clearance is actually more like 2.5 thousandths of an inch. And those are the two ways that you measure valves and valve guides.